Okay, we are live. Happy Tuesday, everybody that is on this call, and anyone who sees this on the YouTube page. I'm happy to have the first deliver call in quite some time with our CEO Siggy. There's a lot of updates as to what's happened since we closed this raise in November, and I made an announcement on Friday that we are officially reopening and launching a liver two raise, and we'll explain why. And we'll explain some of the benefits to it. So a lot has happened there, but Siggy, I wanted to start by letting you know that, as you know, I'm a fan of the product. I'm doing these shots.
Frozen.
I'm doing these shots. Someone's frozen. No, I'm not frozen. I can see myself. Twice a day, and if I drink, it's three. And when I was on my painkillers and anesthesia and stuff after my surgery, I was doing three per day, like you requested. So I'm a big fan, obviously, of the product. I'm a fan of the company, you and everything you and your team have done, which I know you're going to share. Record revenue numbers, more revenue in the first 3 months this year than you did all last year. I'm a fan of the investment, which is one that at one point you had said you would sell for no less than $1 billion, and then privately you told me that you think it's going to be worth more now. So I'm excited about that, and I'm excited, and I'm a fan of the mission. Very short story. One of my good friends and mentors passed away at the age, I think, of 49. Very healthy guy. Went from healthy to stage 4 cancer, and within 3 or 4 months, he passed away. And that's how we connected because our mutual friend, Mimi, and her husband, Steve, but specifically Mimi, is the president of your company. So she introduced me to you, I believe it was last April or May. And we started officially collecting funds in July, and we raised over 1.1 mil before we closed in. By the way, that was late July. That was after the pig event. Might have been August actually. So from August to November, we raised 1.1 mil, which is the fastest and most amount we've raised in that short amount of time. And then we closed the raise and closed the round. So you are now reopening. This is a $50 million value of your company. If you sold for that original estimation of 1 billion, that's a 20x. I'll let you talk in a little bit about why you think it's going to be worth more. But big fan of yours, Siggy, big fan of your company, and big fan of the mission. So why don't you just kick it off maybe and give a couple of updates as to where we are with your company and why you have decided to reopen this race.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much for the intro. Thank you, everybody, for listening too. Look forward to seeing everybody in August. Hopefully, I'll see some of you before then, potentially when we're in Dallas or in Austin at the shows. So last year we were closing off the founders round, which was the founders round of investment that Powerhouse came in and took the end of it, and they actually, I think, oversubscribed. And that was getting a lot of things in place for scaling. We've already done the R&D, we've already done the proof of concept. We're now going into commercialization for the business, and that is now we start to scale. And to scaling, obviously, you need growth and everything as well. But with the investment we brought in last year, we were finishing up some scientific studies, getting a lot of the prep work done. Mimi was coming in. Mimi started last April, getting the organization and infrastructure for the company. With passive marketing, this is very important because we were not doing any marketing on social media. We were not doing any Google marketing. The marketing that we were doing was essentially press releases, and those were, we have a PR firm, and if journalists liked the product, they would write about us, or we were going to some of these biohacking and health optimization conferences. Those were incredibly successful for us, and we've been building more and more momentum. And so the revenue basically it was climbing all year. And, prior to last year, we were very much focused in the UK, but we realized last year that we want to put our focus into the US. And so, starting basically this year, 80% of our focus will be in the US and 20% will be in the UK and EU. So the US has had obviously very, very high trajectory growth. And even without that overt marketing, we had basically almost a 300% growth year 2024 over 2025. We're not doing active marketing yet. We're about to. That's what this raise is for. But we hit 300 grand in revenue, 330 in December, and I believe we're averaging over 300 grand a month with this year. So we're already on track to do north of 3.6 to 4 million in revenue, which is going to be a double to potentially a triple of last year's revenue before we even hit the accelerator. And a lot of that's because we've been building momentum, and that momentum was built through partnerships that we started to build up, journalists finding out about the product, and some of these trade shows that we go to. I know like Dennis Drake, for instance, he attended our event last year in May. That was our first big trade show, really. And for us, those trade shows are incredible because most businesses go to a trade show, they spend a lot of money, and it's a marketing exercise, and that's just it. We actually make money at those shows. We do so much in revenue at those shows that they're generally big profit centers for us. Not only immediate profit and immediate sales, but they're also signing up subscribers. And as you sign up subscribers, the long-term value of a Deliverance subscriber is thousands. We don't look at somebody just spending 200 or 400 a month on Deliverance. We look at the lifetime value of that client. And that's why we've seen the nice increase, because that funnel's growing, because more and more people are getting on the product and they're staying on the product and going forward. So, we got blown away. We were so busy at that show last May that, we were overwhelmed. If anything, some people got annoyed because we were too busy and couldn't get scans to talk to them. So we've doubled our booth this year, and that's the biohacking conference in Dallas. I'll send the dates at the end of this. It's the third week. Give an example. We did 60K in revenue in 3 days at that show, and it cost us 25. So trade shows for us are profitable immediately. They're certainly profitable long-term with subscriptions, and their press release that get us credibility. There's a lot of long-term value as well. So that's what's driving a lot of this revenue. And then since last summer, we've been written up in the Sunday Times, which is the original Times newspaper of London. The New York Times did a piece on us in October, which is very positive. We've been in Wired magazine, GQ. Give an example for GQ's Man of the Year awards. All the basically people that were in it, the top 50 sexiest men for GQ men, were given a gift bag with incredible stuff. Most companies pay for the right to put their product in that gift bag. We didn't pay anything. We were invited to donate product to be in the GQ and be listed in GQ magazine. So give you an example. So a lot of marketing companies and PR, you pay for the right to be put in a gift bag. We refuse to do that just on principle because we're an amazing product and we want it to be genuine and come from a place of authenticity. So we were in GQ, which is super cool. Country and Townhouse just did another piece today. We've been in that magazine twice. We've written an article. We've got a Forbes journalist that's been on Deliverance. We scanned her. She's got a serious liver issue. We're treating her. And the plan is for her to have another scan in May. And then potentially she's going to release a story on us to Forbes about the liver clinic and Deliverance. So Forbes is in the works. The Financial Times is in the works for another big piece. The Financial Times, so everybody knows, is basically like the Wall Street Journal for all of Europe and most of Asia. So it's the main trade. It is like Wall Street Journal. It's very, very, very prestigious magazine. We were in it last January, and it did 100K in revenue from it. So any mention in that newspaper is massive for us. So that's underway. So a lot of cool press stuff coming out. A lot of cool press has happened. We don't pay for stories. We don't pay journalists to do anything. What we do offer is we invite journalists to try Deliverance. We invite a journalist to have a scan. We invite a journalist to get a scan, take Deliverance, and afterwards. So everything that you've written about us, none of that was paid for. That's true, honest, organic journalism. So that's been a big driver of the revenue as well. We've been working behind the scenes, Mimi has feverishly, to put in a CRM, which is a customer relationship management tool. So we're going to be able to really start to track and build up profiles of our customers and our patients to be able to market to service. We are improving the website weekly. The liver clinic website is going to have a full overhaul to do. We The, the last summer, we had 2 liver clinics. Now we've got 15, and they're growing. We're doing a partnership with Next Health, which should roll out up to 28 liver clinics over the next 12 to 18 months. I was just in Miami. We did an event with Brian Johnson. I don't know if anybody's seen Brian Johnson. He's that guy, the biohacker that had a show on Netflix called Don't Die. He's now doing his own summits as well. They sell out every event. They curate, like 100 different companies will apply to exhibit at his show. They pick 32, right? And we were obviously picked to do it. We did our first show there. It was a massive success. We did 32 grand in a day at that trade show. So it was a profitable show. Met some potential investors out of Brazil that want to distribute Deliverance and manufacture for us for South America, potentially want to invest. That's coming off of that. We met with the vice president of Four Seasons, who's in charge of all strategic partnerships, which is pretty amazing. I didn't know this, but if anybody's seen the White Lotus show, White Lotus, he formed that partnership with Four Seasons. So every White Lotus episode is at a Four Seasons property, and all of the characters are in it. The staff are based off of real characters at that show. So the guy that came up with that brainchild is crazy, has been on Deliverance for a year and a half, and we didn't know that. So when we met with him, he's already a huge fan. I shared the letter he wrote to the head of wellness for Four Seasons. So we're working on that partnership. They have 140 five-star properties around the world. And why that's incredibly important is not just, yes, it's amazing to have the sales that you'll get from that, but there's a halo effect and there's a valuation effect to that as well. So when I'm speaking to any casino in the world, I could say, well, our inaugural casino is Wynn in Las Vegas, right? Which is launching next month. Oh, I'm in June. I could say, well, from a hotel group, we're in the Four Seasons. We're in Peninsula hotels already. We just, as of tomorrow, we'll be in Six Senses' first location in Ibiza. Six Senses is one of the most prestigious brand spa hotels in the world. That's another partnership we've got. So,
and the Win in June.
And the Win in June. And
Yep.
why that affects valuation is in 3 years to 5 years, we're having discussions with people trying to buy us, whether that's, whether it's Johnson & Johnson or it's Nestle or Unilever. Those companies strive and do anything they can to get into those prestigious brands. We're already in there. So that gives us a whole nother level of value and valuation because we're reaching people that they really want to reach. So I'm very much, we're not racing out trying to sell a bunch of product really quickly. We're working on building a long-term value play here for the business, and more importantly, for our consumers, right? We're an impact-driven business, and our business is also based off of results and patient outcome. So we're changing people's lives every day that take Deliverance. We're preventing liver disease. We're catching liver disease. We're treating it. So we're doing incredible good in the world, whilst secondarily building a very valuable company. And I think, and other people a lot smarter than me think, that there's several paths to $1 billion plus valuation. One is the consumer package division, like the product, we sell X amount, our EBIT is this, evaluation's this. And that's like a Nestle acquisition or Unilever acquisition. Secondarily, what we're doing scientifically and mechanisms of action that we're proving is that this could be incredibly valuable to a pharmaceutical company to potentially buy us or collaborate just the rights to turn it into a drug or to take it down that pharmaceutical path, or we may choose to do that. So that's a second leg of this potential multi-billion valuation. And then the thirdly is the data and the data that we're acquiring. And you hear that a lot, like data is the new gold or the new oil, right? But it is if you know what to do with it and you're doing something intelligent with it and you're doing something to extract maximum valuation from that data. And by us having all these thousands of, 1,000 clinics globally is our goal. We will be scanning thousands and hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of people, and we'll be taking in their blood data, their scanning data, their lifestyle, their habits, what they're eating. We're doing that first and foremost to be able to treat them and to take care of them and to give them better patient outcomes. We'll never sell that data, but a biotech or a big pharma very much we want to buy us because we have knowledge and data on potentially millions of people that they would dream to have. So there's three aspects to how we're building long-term value to the company. And that's why, for instance, we don't sell on Amazon, because if I just send pallets of product to Amazon and Amazon sells it, besides they take 30%, what's happening? I don't know if I'm improving the cholesterol. Am I improving their fatty liver? Who are they? Where do they live? What are they eating? We lose all that, right? So that's why we don't sell on Amazon, because I'm not just trying to make a bottle for $2 and sell it for $4, right? That's not what we're doing. We're doing something much more sophisticated and intelligent and value driven, and that's why we control that data and control that patient pathway. I mean, we know everybody that buys it. This is confidential, but for example, there's a very famous stem cell doctor called Dr. Dio Khan. Some of his clients are like Dana White, Tony Robbins, the Kardashians. Like, he's a top guy. He's in Dubai now. He was in Toronto. His father had fatty liver disease. We cured it. He's a huge fan. He was telling Tony and Sage Robbins about De-Liver-Ance. We sent him a box as a gift to see if they liked it. Tony's office has come back. They bought $2,000 worth of De-Liver-Ance to give to VIPs at one of his events in Japan. And he's bought $2,000 worth of De-Liver-Ance just for his house, for him and his friends twice. It's cool. I Zillowed his house in Florida, 75 million valuation. So we actually shipped to Tony Robbins' house for Tony and his wife to take, right? That's pretty cool. So
Very cool.
I got a screenshot of, not that I'm a fan, but he had sent some to Kim Kardashian to take. She had said she was going to buy it and try it. So we're seeding it with the right people, but organically, like their doctors are telling them they should take this product. Like that's because he does their stem cells. So we got some amazing people out there advocating for us that are giving it to the right people. And that's part of this whole thing of building this long-term value and credibility and integrity for the company.
And I just want to clarify for all who've either invested or planning on investing, while we all know the product is De-Liver-Ance, we're actually investors in Equilibrium, which is the parent company. So liver testing revenue, liver De-Liver-Ance, whatever else you add to your pallet is what we're investing in. Okay, so record revenue. I think if I read the notes from last week, you've done more in the first 3 months of this year than you did all last year, which is great. I know you mentioned over 3 million in revenue, which can probably increase if you get some of these influencers, if you will, or high level folks become fans and subscribers. Talk briefly about the science and try to compare it. I mentioned to you a couple of times here on the phone that somehow, because I say the word liver so often, and I know that Apple and Siri and Alexa, they're all fighting for my data. But once I start talking about liver, all of a sudden I go on my social media and I see liver stuff, and mostly it's Dose. And I know Dose has some celebrity endorsers or pitch people, whatever they're called. So what is the difference between De-Liver-Ance and Dose? Is Dose changing lives like De-Liver-Ance is? And if not, tell us how De-Liver-Ance is scientifically changing lives.
Sure, absolutely. So I met the CEO of Dose. I challenged the CEO of Dose to a scientific competition, and so did Anti-Aging Tips, which they ran away. Physically, they ran away from the booth, and the COO. So Dose it's an Indian company, and they produce huge amounts of these turmeric drinks. They do one for inflammation, they do one for soreness, one for these like allergies, and one for liver. They really got into the liver space as well. They are essentially it's a turmeric based drink. They use powdered turmeric and then they pasteurize it, which scientifically is like asinine because it's cheap, but you kill all the goodness in it. But it's like a very nice turmeric drink that you take once a day and it helps. Their science claims they make are kind of bogus, to be fair. If you read the fine print, it was like 38 people in India, and it's not like a credible study. They even quote that they got scan data, but when Dr. Gareth and me met the CEO of Dose, he didn't know what a fibroscan was. So they copy a lot of what we do for marketing. I don't consider them, yes, they're big in the liver space, but they're not, I mean, they're getting bigger, but they're not even on the same league as us for liver health. That's all they do is you take the shot. It's a turmeric drink and it helps with some liver and inflammation. Our product is very sophisticated. It improves liver function. It metabolizes liver fat. We treat people undergoing chemotherapy. We reverse disease. You also have a neurotropic in it. So when you take Deliverance, you get mental clarity. So any product that exists out there that you take for mental clarity, I will give a Pepsi challenge that we're as good or better for brain. We're definitely the best in the liver category, and we're very high in anti-inflammatories and immune system. So Deliverance is actually 3 or 4 products in one. And that's why if we were greedy and commercially minded, we would probably split it into several products and sell them separately. But we've created one super product that people get so much benefit from. You use it as a foundational supplement, because if you're taking that, you don't need a lot of other supplements. So you could take it as a base. We've done extensive clinical studies. We're doing more scientific studies. Dr. Gareth and I are flying to LA, actually to Irvine in May, because we're meeting to do a huge study with UCI. So University of California of Irvine has probably the most advanced integrative health institute in the country. And we're going to be doing a big study on how Deliverance mitigates not only liver fat, but also reduces cardiovascular disease risk. The head of that institute was a cardiologist as well, or is a cardiologist. So that's very interesting as well. We're also the only supplement out there that I know of that we will take a patient or a customer, we will scan you and or run your bloods, or you can go do that independently. You take the product and then we scan you and blood test you again. So our efficacy is so high that we tie our entire reputation on the truth and on evidence. Most supplement companies would never even go near that because they don't, the outcomes aren't going to be strong enough. We're that confident and that brave to where we could do that. We could put our money where their mouth is in evidence. So that's another way.
You've said the name Dr. Gareth a few times, just so everyone knows. Dr. G, who will also be at the pig event in August. He is, what is he to the company?
So Dr. Gareth, he's from Wales. He's a liver and pancreatic surgical oncologist, right? So the only thing above doctors are like surgeons, right? And he's an oncologist to deal with cancer. So he was so good that he was poached from the UK by the Cleveland Clinic. He was at Cleveland Clinic for 10 years. He decided he wanted to leave from reactive medicine to actually preventing cancer, preventing disease. So he's our chief medical officer. He's our global chief medical officer. And to give you an example, he was on $400K a year at Cleveland Clinic. With us, he's taking $180K in salary, half of which is in shares and in bonuses as well. So he believes in us, and he also believes in the huge value creation that he'll get with his shares. So a lot of what half of what he's paid in his shares as well. His bonuses are in shares. He's our he's our chief medical officer. He interacts with patients. He interacts with customers. We're negotiating a deal to take the liver clinic, which is the other part of the business, and Deliverance into Peru. For an example, he'll be coordinating the studies with UCI. He's a lovely man, super, super smart, very, very soft-spoken, and is incredibly brilliant as well. That's Dr.
Awesome.
G. Or Dr. G Spot for those that love him.
There you go. So you mentioned it, and Dennis, I'm gonna just tell a brief story in case we lose you, because I'm looking at your video and you're choppy. So we might lose a little bit of you, but I want you to talk about yourself if you could. But a brief story on Dennis. So Dennis, who was on all the pig emails, I believe he started as a vodka investor, and like everyone else, sees the stuff we're doing, and the liver product intrigued him because he had just found out from his doctor that he had an unhealthy liver. So we got on a call with Siggi and I believe Dr. G, and they put him kind of on what their cocktail, if you will, if you're not feeling great or if you don't have a good liver. And if you can, Dennis, either fill in the blanks of what I haven't said, but finish the rest of the story as to what happened.
Sure. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep, you're good.
Yep. So it all started with I have a history in my family. My sister has had some liver problems, both my sisters. But what happened about a year ago is I had a gallbladder attack. So obviously that's a significant event, right? So went to the emergency room and they did all the scans and the CT scan and everything, and they figured out, hey, I've got to have my gallbladder removed. But in researching what happens when you lose your gallbladder is the liver has to take over, right? It has to take over. And I knew that I had this history of liver issues. So I had the traditional CT scan, liver panel done, and all the evidence that came back, the report said I had almost stage 3 fatty liver. So, and I don't know all the terminology, but stage 1 is actually a slightly fatty liver. So anyway, once I found all that out, I went and started learning about all the supplements that were out there. And, serendipitously, we were already reviewing the De-Liver-Ance product because, like Dan said, I was already in one investment already. But I didn't want to jump in, right? I wanted to basically test it. So I met with Siggi and Dr. G, and we went on a protocol where I did 3 vials a day for 3 months. And then I was going to have the fiber scan. And I went to my doctor and he says, well, we don't do fiber scans. We only do CT scans. And I got to thinking, you know what I ought to do is just duplicate the exact liver panels and CT scan I had when I had the emergency room incident with my gallbladder that showed that I had all this issue with my liver. And when I had those done after 3 months, I had stage 1, and also had lost 25 pounds. And also all of my liver panels were just about normal. So from there, I went to 1 a day, and I'm about ready to have another scan. So that's why I was asking Siggi before this call when they were going to be in Dallas, because I want to have another fiber scan. But my fiber scans, the last 2, have improved sequentially every time I've had the liver scan. And like I said, I feel great. The mental clarity is amazing. And the weight loss, I don't know, Siggi, if that's inherent, results of taking the product, but I lost 25 pounds. So.
Yeah, no, thank you, Dennis. No, it is for sure, because as your liver functions improved, your liver is responsible, so everybody knows, of breaking fats down. It produces the biles and the acids that break fat cells down and that break fatty acids down. So that's normal. As your liver, just like when your liver gets worse or fattier, you gain weight quicker and it's harder to shed weight. So as your liver improves, you'll shed weight better and you'll burn fat better as well.
And then the end of the story is once I saw all the results, I had to invest, and I've spent a little time with Siggi and his team too, and helping them with their supply chain and whatnot. But no, love it, and hoping to invest some more.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. You are a living, breathing pig testimonial. You are now, I believe, a 4-time pig investor, and you're doing your home loans to the neighborhood loans. So we are really married with all the stuff that we're doing. So looking forward to seeing you. Obviously in May, we can go out together because I want to get tested as well, and of course seeing you at the conference breakout that Siggi's going to do Saturday at the pig event. So it'd be good for you to be there and share that story as well. So speaking of the pig event, we are doing testing. Usually these liver tests, Siggi charges, I believe, $250 for anyone who comes from the pig family to my house for the testing on that Friday, August 15th. They will be free testing. I was tested last year for the first time, and you said my liver was as healthy as a 15-year-old's, which only gave me license to drink more. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Let's see what else. I've got a few questions here. I know you mentioned subscribers. I think you told me you went from 100 to 600 subscribers. And what is your goal? Because I know that's where, like any of our other companies, coffee and vodka, that's where the higher margins are. It's really direct to consumer, and you're getting a subscription base, of course. So it's renewal income. What's your goal? You went from 1 to 600, which is amazing. But what do you want to do?
So our goal last year, we started with 100. Our goal was to get to 500. We hit about 600 in January. So we exceeded the goal. Our goal this year is going to be, I believe, I've got to look. I think we've set it at a minimum of 1,000. I would dare say we could probably get to, with the funding and everything, we could very much get into 3,000 range as well, and then keep tripling that. So next year would be 10,000, then probably 50,000. And once you get to 100,000 subscribers globally, which is not a lot if you think about it, that could be 30,000 United States, 30,000 in Europe, and 40,000 in the rest of the planet. So to get to, once you've hit that, just that alone puts you at $1 billion valuation once you hit 100,000 subscribers. So, just
what is your valuation goal? You were $1 billion when you just started the company because of all the stuff you mentioned to me, regarding at the time what your subscription was going to be, the liver testing, and Big Farm essentially, buying you guys out. That was early on. You're now a year removed. You've raised, I think, 17 to 20 million dollars. You're now, like you said, featured in all these articles. Your revenue is great, and you're still growing. Has your goal changed for what you'd want to sell the company for, and do you have a time frame roughly?
Yeah, my goal is to, this is, no promises, but my personal goal, and somebody that spent 28 years in this field and the last 20 years on this formula, and I'm the largest investor, is, I think that this can easily be worth 1 to 3 billion in 5 years. That's what my goal is to get to. We have right now a goal of, in 2027, sorry, yeah, 2027, in December of 2027, I wanted to be a liquidity event. So in kind of the 3-year anniversary from last December, and that could be either we're probably maybe selling off part of the company, or bringing in like 100 million or 200 million in investment to scale. And a lot of the investors could take some money off the table, or they could stay in, with a huge liquidity event at 5 years, which would be in 2029. So we're already 6 months into that. So we're now 2.5 months a year from my goal to do that. And, I think we'll get to a point where we're going to hockey stick up, we're going to go really strong for the next 3 years. And then, okay, now you want to go big global. That's where you would bring in a huge partner where you're pumping 100 million into marketing in like a year. And that'll get you way up into the billions, and then, be some really nice potential liquidity events. Could be IPO. We don't know what the markets will be like, so I don't want to make promises how that'll happen. But there's several avenues. It could be acquisition. It could be splitting up an acquisition. It could be mergers. It could be an IPO, or we could be kind of like Red Bull. We're just generating so much revenue that we're just kicking off huge payments to the investors every year as well. So it could be one of those scenarios. I think like Red Bull's like 10 billion a year in revenue off of something that costs $1. So to give you an example, and
Awesome.
there's massive competition.
Yeah. Juan, I think you wrote that question as I was asking it, so I think that hopefully answers your question. It's almost the same thing. I mentioned Dose being all over my social media feeds. When do you plan on getting a social media presence? I don't know how expensive that is, and I'm not suggesting you get a spokesperson or whatever, but I think nowadays, we all talk about something enough, it shows up on our feed. Right now, we're talking about liver, and then everyone's going to see Dose. So how do we get De-Liver-Ance eventually on what kind of marketing plan do you have for that?
So Mimi's been working very closely with Adam, who's our digital marketing expert within the field, and getting ready to implement that this summer. The raise that we're doing now is essentially for two things: marketing. Well, it's for marketing dollars and to produce more inventory, because we sold so much product in December that we ran out of in January, which is a problem we don't want to have. That was also because of, obviously, we sold 6 months of inventory in a month, but also what happened was some things outside of our control, force majeure items in South Korea that affected that. And how that works is that they're doing a kind of marketing I'm not a huge fan of, because I find that annoying if I get pixeled. But essentially, if you're talking about liver, or you search liver, or if you click that website once, they've basically pixeled you, so that what you're seeing, for instance, for Dose, somebody that's never clicked on liver, they're not seeing what you're seeing. You're seeing it because they've targeted you and they've retargeted you. And so they're constantly hitting you until you buy. And eventually, if you don't buy after a certain amount of time, that'll drop off. But that's basically what they've done. I wouldn't be that aggressive with it, because that's kind of like the tortoise and the hare. We're the tortoise. We're going to win the race in the long run, not just trying to flash out and burn really quick like they are. I know you asked me about tariffs. This is an interesting aspect because they're an Indian company, and I think their products made in India. That they might be more susceptible to tariffs. For us,
Yep.
because we're a medicine and we're manufactured in the U.S., right? Even though we're a British company with U.S. subsidiaries and we're a U.S. and British company, we're a medicine, so we have no. I just checked again. We have no tariff issues coming from South Korea for the product. The only thing that might be affected by the tariffs were we had bottles being made in the bottles are recycled plastic. They're made from recycled plastic that probably came from America, and those were from China. But we just got 500,000 bottles in, so we don't have any plans to do that. And if anything, I would hope that the current administration's tactics for tariffs are going to help U.S. manufacturers to the point to where we can have it made in the U.S. I would love to have it made in the United States as well. And anybody that knows economics, the tariff strategy that Trump is doing is actually brilliant, and a lot of it is to drive down the market, to drive down interest rates, so that the U.S. can refinance $6 trillion in debt, which will save hundreds of billions a year in interest. So what he's doing is so much more strategic than is because this is the year that a lot of those T-bills come due, so they're driving those rates down on purpose and causing this hoo-ha. Plus, we should be tariffing. It's not fair to a lot of So I'm actually, whilst it might be scary looking at your share prices right now, but the long-term aspect for the U.S. economy, I think is very positive. I'm very bullish on as well. But right now we're not affected by the tariffs in any way. If we did, it would be nominal taking U.S. manufactured product into UK, because once we're in UK, we have no duty going into the EU.
All right. So we've talked a lot about the product and the science, and of course the testimonial from Dennis. Before I get to the actual second raise now of this of Liver 2.0, there were a couple more things that I had here. I read somewhere you're going to be doing a TED Talk, TEDx. Is that right?
Yeah. So we're going through the process right now. We negotiated with TEDx to do a talk on liver health. So we're working with actually a producer and a writer right now, and we're fine-tuning the 20-minute script to do. They're taking all of my compilations and we're formulating that. It's pretty cool because the guy that's writing essentially he's taking my words and turning it into a script. He's actually a television show writer. He worked on Succession, which is pretty cool. He worked for Showtime, worked for HBO. So this is a top guy. And then we will then put it out to all the TEDx's, and then we'll pick which TEDx we want it to come out on. And that should come out later this year. So that's incredible from a credibility standpoint and prestige. So my talk will be on liver health. It'll be about liver health. It'll be about the liver disease epidemic. It'll be about scanning, and then it'll be about the solutions, and then we'll mention Deliverance. But we're building this halo effect of building credibility and as an authority on liver health that the Liver Clinic does, and that I do for us as part of this ecosystem as well, which inevitably will lead to more people taking the product, more people scanning, saving people's lives, less people getting liver disease, and helping more people. And making a lot of money preventing people from getting sick.
Of course. So I want to be cautious on this. We're walking a fine line here with this question, because a lot of people know about it and they've asked, and that's about the Make America Healthy Again team that you've been invited on. Now, just as a disclaimer, PIG is not political. So of course, right away, 50% are going to hate this and 50% are going to love it of America. But from what I understand, of our 113 investors, we have 2 liberals. So I don't want to offend those 2, but I think for the most part, we're on friendly territory. However, I want to know from a standpoint of what this does to the company value. Tell me about the Make America Healthy Again invite or team that you're part of, which is led by the HHS Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. Go ahead.
And I think you're right. MAHA is not political, and that's very important. And when Bobby Kennedy said, I've spoken to Del Bigtree and Callie Means, who set up the meeting between Trump and RFK. Right, RFK is politically diametrically opposed to Trump politically as a Democrat, as a loved by the Democratic Party versus Republican. The decision was made then, and I've heard this firsthand from who's in that conversation, Trump said, I want part of my legacy to be to leave America healthier than when I found it. And I want you to help me do that, is what he said to Bobby Kennedy. And Bobby Kennedy said, my political differences with you are huge, but they are not as important as the health and well-being of the children of the United States of America. So as an American, to achieve the best health for our country, I will set my political side, that aspect aside. And Trump said, if you support me, I will give you free reign to go into the HHS, the FDA, the CDC, the NIH, and the food industry, and to make this country healthier than when I found it. And you can have free range to do that. And that was the deal that they made. So I don't care if you're a diehard Republican or a crazy bleeding heart liberal. Nothing's more important than health for the country of this if you care. So ideologies can take a fucking back seat when we're looking at children. The United States of America spends more money on healthcare than any country on the planet. We have the most advanced healthcare system, the most advanced medicines, the most advanced hospitals. We also have the sickest children on the planet. We also have the highest rates of autism on the planet, and we have more people getting cancer than anywhere else. That shit has to change. Liberal, conservative, whatever. That's what's happening, and that's what Bobby's doing. You know, we are very lucky because Del Bigtree, who's the CEO of MAHA, even though Bobby Kennedy's movement, takes De-Liver-Ance. He got a liver scan. He loves the product. He supported us. When they had at the inauguration for the president on January 20th, they all have these different balls. There was the MAHA ball for everybody that was involved with MAHA. That was Bobby Kennedy's inauguration party. We were invited to it, which was incredible. There was only 300 guests invited. I met the head of the FDA, Dr. Oz, the new head of the NIH, the new head of the CDC, Dr. Malone, Dr. McCullough, right? These legends of Jordan Peterson, right? The most incredible people like progressives, and Bobby Kennedy. And we were invited to that. We were a sponsor for that. We were an official MAHA partner. They gave us a one-page ad that people were paying 50 grand to be in. They gave it to us for free. And so, what's your liver score? So we are a partner with them. We've been asked, and I consult with their COO, Bridget, a lot on the MAHA badge needs to be above politics, and it needs to be a badge of credibility for brands that are about true health. So I think it's important that everybody notes that this is the first time in the U.S. history that the health and wellness industry has the ear of the president. And that is because of Bobby Kennedy. And we are very lucky to be a partner with them, to be invited to participate with them. I just got an invite to go. They're having their spring gala in Jupiter, Florida, in May 3rd, which will be a small black tie event. Me and Cassie got invited to go. So I don't know how much that's gonna, what could come out of it, but so far it's incredible. I believe in the movement personally, even if I wasn't in the field. And I think it does give a tremendous amount of credibility. It's going to open up things like what we're doing, things like Strong Coffee's doing, right? Progressive health things. And so I think Bobby Kennedy being in there is going to push down the influence of Big Pharma, push down Big Pharma's influence on trying to crush people like us at Strong Coffee with health products and nutraceuticals as well. So I think it's very good for us in the industry. I think it's very good for the country, and inevitably very good for the world.
Got it. Good answer. Okay, so let's talk turkey here. We are 8 days into this raise. I know you said you were going to, because you've got obviously a ton of demand and you need the supply. So for the month of April, I believe you were going to do what we discussed, not a discount as much as a increase in shares. Can you just talk on that briefly? For easy math, it's $100,000, right? Someone's got $100,000. You're going to do what?
So we're doing a Series A round of 15 million. We've already got 6 to be taken care of out of a European group. We're raising that in total. We are allocating the first 2 million of that 15 million. If the contracts are signed and the investments committed are done in April, we are going to be giving a bonus of 20% warrants at zero cost.
So you invest $100,000. It's as if you've invested 120. So you're giving a free 20.
Yeah. So if you buy $100,000 worth of shares for easy math, we're going to give you $20,000 worth of shares at no cost.
Now, for clarity, you and I discussed April, and we also discussed signed contracts, even if the money's not in. Half of our group, as you know, is IRA investors, which I'll talk about briefly in a second. And that money can take sometimes anywhere between 5 to 10 days. But if we do have signed contracts, then you will honor that for the 20% for the month of April only, correct?
Yeah, correct. Exactly.
Okay, great. It's a $50 million valuation. Valuation, sorry. You talked about $1 billion potentially, and you said maybe even as high as uh, uh, 3 billion. So I think people can do the math.
I mean,
Go ahead.
I don't even want to put a cap on the end, but we're going to shoot for the moon, and I'm going to do everything I can, and so is everybody else involved, and a lot of really smart people and investors to push that well north of into the 10-figure zone in 4.5 years from now. That's what we're all working towards. Some of these things, some of these drugs come out and they're worth 10 billion and they never even sold anything. So
Yep.
I wouldn't want to cap what the potential could be, but anybody that tracks biotech, big pharma, we have that potential. Plus, we're a consumer product, right? Plus, we're data acquisition as well. So there's multiple streams that we're working on towards that.
All right. So as I wrap up here, Siggi, and I want to thank you for your time and for all the knowledge. Obviously, a lot has transpired since November, and you're doing a great job, as is your team, with which includes, of course, your president and my good friend Mimi, who unfortunately, due to my changing of our pig event, so I can meet family demands because it is my wedding anniversary, we moved it, and of course, it fell right in line with Steve and Mimi's yearly Hawaii trip. So that is completely my fault, and I'm super sorry. I'll make sure I send a bottle of Golden Eagle vodka to your hotels when you get there, so you guys can enjoy it, and maybe some strong coffee, so you can have a good coffee in the morning. And I'm sure you have enough liver. I will read you a text that I got yesterday, and I posted it as a story on my pig Instagram. As you know, I have two. I've got the Powerhouse one and the pig. I'm sorry, the Dan one. That's me, and then the Powerhouse Investing Group one. And I thought this was a neat text because it's really indicative of the times we're in. Essentially, officially since Thursday's stock sell-off, which carried into Friday, and then even carried again into today, despite some pretty big gains and went back down at the end. But one of our investors in De-Liver-Ance, and I believe also in Golden Eagle, sent me a text last night or yesterday morning at 11:42, and he said, quote, this is a shout out to my dear friend Brian, who will be at the pig event. How good does it feel to have pulled cash out of stocks at the peak and put it into pig? And I thought that is perfect because of the $7+ million that we've raised as pig with 113 investors, almost 50% of the dollar amount and about 50% of the people happen to be IRA investors. Now, for those who don't know, if you have a third-party IRA, if you're not cash rich, but you have a lot of money from years and years and years of working and saving it up, you can take it. And we have a partnership with third-party IRAs. I know Steve and Mimi, and I'm looking at Juan, have done it through the IRA. Julie Hawk has done it. Adam Lingenfelter, basically, literally everyone that's on this call, and half of who will see this video, including me, have used our third-party IRA. So it goes from your custodian to your third party. Your third party hits pig, and it goes right directly to you, Siggi. I know you can't take IRA money, but I can, as I'm a firm. So it's perfect timing. So if people are a little skittish, which you have every right to be, that it's going to get worse before it gets better, you can take it out and not get taxed on it. You can have it work for you for investing in a company like Siggi's. And then when you get returns, it comes right through back to your custodian. That way you have not taken the tax hit until you liquidate. So I wanted to make sure that I added Brian's text to me because it is very timely with what's going on in the market. And then, of course, the other 50% are putting in cash, which is great, especially if you mentioned in 3 years there's going to be a liquidation event and maybe another 5 years there'll be another one. So for those who get this video, and I will make sure I do a recap here, the month of April, commitments only, you get a 20% with no cap as to how much you can invest. You want to do 100, 200, 300, or 50, or even 20. You get an additional 20% on your money as an investor. So I believe I said it earlier, but you did such a great job in person, and now you're going to get a full 30 minutes at the conference here at PIG. but this was the most amount we've raised in the history of Pig in the shortest amount of time. Of course, Golden Eagle has $3.1 million. You guys did 1.1, but you did it in about 4 months. And that was amazing. So I'm very confident that if you don't close this round anytime soon, we can double, if not triple this, because there are a lot of people who expressed interest, but the timing had already passed. So we have filled out our paperwork with getting state and federal licenses with the SEC. We've got our bank accounts up at Liver 2.0. We've got the state seal that's ready, and we are probably a few days away from being able to officially write contracts. So this is officially the launch 2.0. I believe, Siggi, I truly believe from the bottom of my heart, you've got such a great product. You're such a great guy. You have such a big mission. Yes, we can all make a boatload of money, and that's super exciting. But at the end of the day, we really are changing lives. I feel you're changing a lot of people's lives. I'm trying to get people in the company to do the same. It's a big mission for me, and I know it is for you, and I know it is for Mimi and Steve, who know the same person I do, who passed away from liver failure. So thank you, and Siggi, I'll leave the last word to you before we close out.
Yeah, I just thank everybody for taking the time to listen. You know, in life, the thing we have the least of is time. So I really appreciate the time to listen. Obviously, any questions, you can email us, contact us. I'll get the list for the events because we're going to be in Texas twice over the next 30 days. You want to come in for a scan. I'll even put down anywhere else. We'll be in Europe this summer, but we're going to be really get going. Come for a scan. Any questions, any loved ones you want to get in for a scan, or we can help, please do that as well. You know, we're here to first and foremost to help. So reach out anytime you want, and yeah, God bless.
So I'm bringing Siggi to do liver testing for free at the Pig event. We've got coffee tasting with Adam. We've got vodka, not so much tasting, but cocktail making. And I'm bringing my stem cell doctor for those people who want stem cells therapy by appointment only. So it's going to be a big event. Siggi, love what you're doing. You're doing such a great job. Thank you, Mimi, again, for the original introduction to the company and for your continuous hard work. And congratulations on your global promotion. And with that, I really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.